私のパパ。
パパです。
Japan, the country of short-neck pulling slightly racist caricatures. This week opened with 3/4 of our heroines picking up some donuts to eat with Elena. They were planning on partaking of them on Lala's ship, but plans changed when Elena's parents, Kaede and Carlos, arrived and invited them into their home. While getting some basic Spanish lessons, we learned how these two originally met. Apparently, Kaede had traveled to Mexico as a translator, met her husband there, they got married, and they began shooting out kids like crazy. Seriously, how does this woman maintain her looks after 6 kids? Then again, I think I'm more distracted by these awful-looking looping dance animations. Seriously, who approved of this? Madoka's face right here pretty much sums up my thoughts regarding this week's animation. Speaking of whom, Madoka noticed that the eldest son, Toma, seemed a little down and was avoiding his family. And of course, if the moon can notice this stuff, so can the son, or rather the elder sister of the kid. That night, Elena asked him directly while Toma was on his phone in bed. No joke, this is actually one of the most realistic depictions of the current generation, so good job there, guys. Anyway, the reason Toma was distancing himself from his family was because one of his classmates pointed out how they were a little unusual. Oh, I see where this is going. They're going to tackle the very real issues that many mixed races face in Japan. The concept of the mixed ethnic Japanese, or Hafu, is still a very relevant topic, especially in one of the most homogenous societies in the world. While it's probably nowhere near as bad as it used to be, there is still some unfortunate underlying racism, especially amongst children, who of course can just be ignorant little brats. Well, don't worry about it, kid. Despite what others might tell you, your family is no different than anyone. Oh, they're just gonna focus on unusual foreign customs. Okay. I mean, okay, I get that this is a kid's show, so asking them to bring up the color of a person's skin might be a little much, but still, it's a little disappointing that they're not going all the way with this topic by just focusing on a foreign custom that I'm not even sure is really a custom in Mexico. Why does this series like to muddle its messages so much? Later, during their next day off from school, Carlos had invited the Precure over to the titular party of this episode. To get more in the party mood, Hikaru provided her teammates with costumes like Groucho Marx glasses, afros, and kind of terrifying alien masks. Seriously, those dead eyes and that smile are just unnerving. Also, Hikaru, can you even breathe in that thing? However, before the festivities could get started, Toma has sudden breakdown. Oh my goodness, I am not really all that shocked because we haven't really got to know this kid, like, at all. Seriously, as far as I can recall, this is only Toma's second appearance in the show, and we only started to get to know him during that last scene. And on top of that, some half-hearted reactions from his parents, complete with poorly implemented focus lines, and yeah, this scene doesn't really draw any sort of emotion out of me. Regardless, the Precure and Carlos went to look for him. And in case you're wondering, no, Carlos doesn't contribute any further to the plot.
Well, that was pointless.
Of course, the person who did end up contributing the most of this episode was none other than Lala. Wait, what? Yeah, she and Toma ended up sitting down together, and she shared some of her country's unique customs with him. Yeah, cause touching the clearly sentient antennae attached to the girl with the Vulcan ears is just weird. Kid, get off your smartphone, you've become way too jaded. But yeah, now that I stop and really think about it, isn't it a little odd we're getting this episode about Toma feeling like an outsider because of his parents' alien customs, right after an episode about the literal alien trying to fit in? I mean, I'm not saying they can't do both of these kinds of stories in this show, but just one week apart from another? Seems a little redundant and poorly planned out. That said, I do kind of like Lala's speech here about how in spite of having traveled to many countries and seeing their unusual customs, she never once viewed them as weird. Good stuff showing that just because some might think otherwise, there's nothing wrong with coming from a family with different customs. But it does bring up a problem with this series that some of the commenters in my last review pointed out, but more on that at the end. Anyway, as she usually does, we got Tenjo coming in just to provide us with this week's fight. Thus, we got to see the last of the Dark Nest upgrades with her using Toma as a catalyst, and what the hell?
よし、警察。わかった。
I mean, yeah, obviously bad guys and everything, but considering that Tendril dresses like a dominatrix, this is just all kinds of ew, and ew. But yeah, apparently her new powers allowed her to turn her victims into notaries, and...
Magic wand! Make my monster grow!
So, just to review, Kapart gets some pretty awesome looking weapons of the week, I1 gets Oshibaida knockoffs, and Tendril gets giant versions of the mooks of this series.
That is so lame!
Oh, and also, she just found the Scorpio Star Pen and showed it off to the Precure because I guess we have to make this a plot-relevant episode just so that it's not totally pointless. Anyway, they engaged the Tomare, but were unable to pin it down as it went berserk and even attacked its own guys. Thus, Elena of course tried to reach out to her little brother by expressing her love for her entire family.
Toma! 大好きだよ!
Thank you for that, now 2.0. This gave Hikaru an opening to knock it back, and Tendril just dropped the pen. Yeah, next time try wearing something with actual pockets rather than just a leotard. With her new pen, Elena attacked with her new finisher that was just her usual finisher, but with a scorpion in the middle. Granted, it's a little more noticeable than the Libra, but yeah, nothing special. And they defeated it with the Southern Cross. Thus, after meeting the Scorpio Princess and her cute stinger pigtail, the episode ended with Toma reuniting with his family and the Precure enjoying their little fiesta. Oh, and also Prune ate a jalapeno and couldn't take the heat. Puh, lightweight. You know, for what was obviously meant to be an Elena episode, she really didn't feature much this week, and unfortunately because of it, her character arc is already starting to show some cracks. It doesn't help that for much of the episode, Elena was more of a reactionary character than anything else. Madoka was the first one to point out Toma's distress, which encouraged Elena to ask him about it that night. And Lala was ultimately the one who helped relieve Toma of most of his natural stress. Thus, when Elena talked to a brainwashed Toma, it felt more like she was acting as a follow-up to Lala, even though we already got a Lala episode last week. And speaking of last week, several of the commenters pointed out something very interesting to me. Elena and Madoka more and more are just feeling like superfluous characters as most of the focus is going to Hikaru and Lala. The middle of this episode felt more like a continuation to Lala's episode from last week, with her extending her experiences of trying to fit in with a different culture to a boy with a heritage different than the country he was born in. Again, this feels like a case of poor planning or lack of communication between the writers, as we ended up with 2 episodes back to back with very similar themes and even conflicts. And as a result of all of this, Elena's true potential is being squandered as we do know there's more to her than just her family issues. She can be a charismatic negotiator like she was in episode 8, but because this episode was written by Yuka Yamada, who can only really do slice of life stuff, we ended up defaulting back to this. And on top of that, a star pen that was acquired through sheer incompetence of the villains. Seriously, why did Tendril just pull that thing out? We end up opening Japan's new Reiwa era on a very underwhelming note. If you haven't seen it yet, I just posted my review of All Stars Memories on Thursday. Between kanzis and just the film's mind-boggling plot choices, it took me a little longer to make than it probably should have, but I hope you enjoyed the review regardless. Check it out, and be sure to look forward to part 3 of my review of this series. Yeah, I didn't want to say the name because you know who might end up appearing. Anyway, farewell for now, my friends, and just to prove a point, this is how you handle spicy foods. Oh, okay. This was a bad idea. Okay. Oh.